The UK has lost some incredible rides over the years, and some of them don't make any sense. These aren't just nostalgic rides though, some of them haven't had a proper replacement, some were removed too early, and others offered things that we still don't have to this day. Right, so the first couple that I'm going to mention is a ride type that seems to be on the decline in the UK, and that is a log flume. Now, the two examples that spring to mind are the log flume at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, which I have fond memories of as a child. I think it was a fantastic ride, and to be honest with you, removing that to put Infusion in its place, to me, doesn't seem like a wise move. Now, I know water rides are expensive to run, and I'm sure there's some reasons behind why they did it. Maybe it was coming to end of life, maybe it was really expensive, maybe they thought an extra coaster would be better. But I think myself, and I think a lot of you guys probably would prefer to have that log flume back and get rid of Infusion. The other one that I'm going to talk about is the log flume from Alton Towers. Now again, this was a fantastic ride, a classic, meandered through the kind of woods area, and then had of course the big drop at the end. Of course it was later rethemed into the kind of imperial version with the bathtubs and the big duck and stuff, and again it was absolutely fantastic. Now don't get me wrong, I do like its replacement. I think the Wicker Man is excellent, but then I still would have liked to still have a water ride, and there's still small sections of it kicking around in the woods, so it's not completely gone, but I don't think we're ever going to see one come back. Right, there's also a few unique rides that were removed in the UK, and the two examples I'm going to give definitely upset a lot of people. The first one was the Wild Mouse at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Now, this was a rather unique wooden wild mouse that was built in-house by the park, and if I'm not mistaken, it kind of was expanded upon a few years after it was initially built, so I think it was 2 levels before, and it ended up on 3. It was a raucous beast. I did it many times in my youth, and I am kind of gutted that it has gone, but it definitely felt like you were coming off that track. Now, nobody knows for sure. It was obviously removed without any fanfare. In fact, it literally disappeared one closed season and caused a lot of outrage. Now, the year that it was last final year of operating, I believe they put in some new magnetic brakes. So of course it did look like, you know, the future was okay for this ride. It was going to kick around for a bit longer, and it didn't. Now, this could have been insurance, this could have been repair costs. Obviously, with it being in-house, it's not like you can easily get your hands on parts. But in any case, it disappeared, and I would love to see it make a return. The other unique one, is the Ultimate at Lightwater Valley. It is very unique because I don't think there's ever been another roller coaster made by a railway company. It's made by British Rail. I don't think I ever went on this. I've only visited Lightwater Valley once, as far as I'm aware, with the kids, and it would have been there at the time. And I have seen pictures of me on some of the other rides with the kids. I genuinely don't remember being on this, so I don't think I ever went on it, and I'm slightly gutted. Whilst I'm sure it wasn't the most spectacular coaster out there, it was very unique. It was the longest coaster in Europe, I believe, whilst it was operating, and it was opened by Frank Bruno.
I got up there, I was pretty nervous because it was very rocky. Good ride though, very get the heart beating fast, and I get the adrenaline, lose a few calories.
A little clip from him. But yeah, unfortunately it was removed not that long ago, and of course the park has now changed ownership, and I'm pretty sure if the new owners had owned it back then, they probably wouldn't have got rid of it. But yeah, don't think anything's going to come back in its place anytime soon. Right, there's a couple other rides here that were removed, arguably too early, 2 of which have been replaced by something, 1 of which has not. So the first one is Apocalypse at Drayton Manor. This was that Intamin drop tower, which I managed to get on this one, and I think it was fantastic. Now, unfortunately, it was removed and replaced with a coaster, which, don't get me wrong, Gold Rush, I should say, is an excellent coaster, great for the family demographic, but again, it's one of those I would have liked to have kept Apocalypse and put the coaster in. I don't feel it was an even trade, but again, this park has been going down that family route and taking out anything thrilling, which seems to be the way of the world these days, but as a thrill seeker myself, it's not ideal. And the next one we've got is the Black Hole at Alton Towers. Now, I honestly don't know if I did this. I certainly would have been at the park a couple of times when it was there, so I may have done this. I've got no memories of doing it, and I've got no photographic evidence of being on it, so I'm going to assume I've never been on it. But this was, of course, that indoor coaster. It wasn't anything spectacular, to be fair. It's a Schwarzkopf Jetstar model, I want to say. If I'm wrong, I'll put the right model on screen. There are a few of these kicking around outdoors, The unique part of this was, of course, that it was inside a giant tent, which, if you've ever done indoor dark coasters, they feel a lot faster than their outdoor counterparts. And I don't think that's wind resistance, I think it's just that perception of not being able to see what's going on. So it was a very much loved coaster. Of course, it was replaced by the Smiler, which is Marmite. Some people love it, some people hate it, but yeah, it would be good to see an indoor coaster come back, and who knows, maybe that's what Project Horizon will be, if it ever happens. Speaking of indoor coasters, the other one is Space Invader at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Now, you may know this ride still exists down at Breen Leisure Park, known as Astrostorm. The thing is, that building for Space Invader is empty. It has not been reused. There was a behind the scenes thing last year that I didn't manage to get to, but they basically took people in there, and it is just this massive space which could easily put another attraction in. So I don't think we'll ever get that ride back. There's reasons it left. I'm sure many of you know there was an accident in that park. So that ride itself is unlikely to return, but I would like to see them do something with that space, because an indoor coaster again, popular. Right, the last three I've got here are all standing but not operating. And unfortunately, I don't think they will operate again. So the first one is the boat ride at Alton Towers, which has had many guises over the years. It has been Around the World in 80 Days. It has been Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It's been Toyland Tours, and of course it ended up being the Dungeons, a boat ride in there. As far as I'm aware, that mechanism is still in place, although hasn't been used for a while, so no doubt needs a lot of maintenance to get it usable again, and I'm not sure if we'll ever see that happen. I'm sure they'll do something with that building, because the current kind of Amigos in the Afterlife thing, whilst cool, seems a little bit of a waste and doesn't take advantage of that ride system. And the next one we have got is the Scenic Railway at Dreamland Margate. Now, this recently was announced that it's it can't be removed because it's a protected building. So it's grade listed, but they're not going to operate it as a coaster anymore. Now, this had an incident a couple of years ago where I think part of the track was damaged. I'm not sure if they managed to fix that and get it back up and running, or if it's been SB&O in the hope that it would come back, but in any case, they've now said it will not come back as a coaster, which is kind of frustrating. I've never been to the park. I will be visiting later this year. Would have loved to have got on it, and it's going to be painful just seeing it standing there and not being able to ride it. So unfortunately, that is another one that is standing but not operating. And the last one, also extremely painful because I've never been on it, is Megaphobia over in Oakwood. Now, this park closed last year. It wasn't particularly well looked after by its owners, shall we say. I've done a whole history series if you want to see the details on that. But effectively, they kind of ran the park into the ground, and they've now stripped all the assets out of the park to use in their other parks internationally. But Megaphobia still stands there. It is not impossible to relocate a wooden coaster, it is just extraordinarily expensive and time consuming, and I don't think anybody is going to spend the money on doing it. So instead, what I believe has been classed as one of the best coasters in the UK from a wooden point of view is likely to just rot, and that is a very sad thing to see. Right, that is barely scratching the surface with 10 rides there that unfortunately have left and will unlikely ever return. I'm sure there are many, many more, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below about both these 10 rides that I've listed and of course any that I've not included in this list. If you've enjoyed this one, make sure you hit that like button and do subscribe. As always, I've been Chris, you've been watching Coaster Dad, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios. The UK has lost some incredible rides over the years, and some of these don't make any sense. I got the first sentence right. I guess that helps. These aren't just nostalgic rides. There's something else. Not properly replaced. There was something else. These aren't words. And some of them just... And the two examples I'm going to give were definitely fan favourites. There's a lot of people who were really kind of offended. Nah, they weren't offended. Maybe they were. Definitely a lot of people... I don't know what I'm saying.